Good afternoon and welcome to San Diego City College's last day of our Leadership Summit series. And for those of you joining us today, you're really in for a really meaningful and impactful event. And I wanted to call attention to one of our newest community partners, which is MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And we're really happy that we're partnering with this organization because of the work that they do around the United States and in California and San Diego in particular. So I'd like to introduce, without further adu, and welcome to San Diego City College's Leadership Summit, Kaylee Cantor. Hi, Kaylee. Kaylee is the program specialist for Mothers Against Drunk Driving in San Diego. She holds a bachelor's degree in health studies from the University of Iowa and a master's degree in public health from the University of Illinois in Chicago. Before coming to San Diego, Kaylee spent much of her time working with vulnerable and at-risk populations, assisting them with services and healthcare. She now works for MAD, delivering community education to youth, parents, communities on the harms of underage drinking and impaired driving. So we're so grateful that you're here to join us, Kaylee. Thank you and welcome to San Diego City College's Student Leadership Summit. I will hand it over to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lori. And we're really excited to be here and be working with San Diego City College. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Oh, sorry, having an issue. Hold on. There we go. You can just see the PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Go ahead and get started. Well, hi, everyone. Introduce myself again. My name is Kaylee Cantor, and I am the program specialist for Mothers Against Drunk Driving here in San Diego. Today, I am just going to cover a couple different topics. We're going to talk a little bit about underage drinking, specifically college age alcohol consumption, impaired driving, and then for parents who might be listening in the audience, just some tips and strategies on how to have intentional and ongoing conversations with your youth about these types of topics. And then after that, I'm going to actually give the rest of my time to my friend and volunteer, Shelly Clark, who's going to share her story. And then I assume if anyone has any questions, I will go ahead and address them, either the chat or read them off. But yeah, excited to be here. So as our name implies, MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, our main mission is to end drunk driving, as you could have guessed, but we also work to help fight drug driving, prevent underage drinking, as well as support the victims of these violent crimes. And one thing I will note, MAD focuses on underage drinking because youth who start drinking young are actually 7 times more likely to be in an alcohol-related crash later on in life, as well as more likely to develop substance use disorders. So it's really important to provide parents and youth these tools to educate themselves and others to mitigate these senseless crimes and tragedies later down the road. So a little bit of background on MAD. We were founded in 1980 by a mother who lost her daughter to an impaired driver. We are against the choice and action of drinking and driving. We're not against the individual. And one specific thing that I think some people, kind of get misconstrued with MAD, we're not a prohibitionist organization. We're not anti-alcohol by any means, but we are against adults. We are not against adults 21 and over drinking. And then most importantly, we're more specifically, I should say, just against people getting behind the wheel of a car after they have been drinking. So if anything, taking away from today, please always plan ahead and designate a non-drinking driver if you're planning alcohol or any other drugs. A little bit of a breakdown on what MAD does. We provide services to families and victims and families of drunk and drug driving crashes. At the national and local level, we work to support stronger drunk driving laws. And then we also do stuff like this: go to the communities, go to high schools, and educate youth on the dangers of underage drinking, whether that be through educational presentations, tabling events, other types of activities, and that could be geared towards parents, youth, or a different subset. And then we work with our natural partners, which is local, county, and state law enforcement and other governmental agencies to help educate the public on the dangers of impaired driving. Since MAD's inception, we have actually served nearly 1 million victims of drunk and drug driving. And all of these services are provided for free and at no charge to the victims and their families. So we serve victims and survivors of drunk driving, drug driving, and underage drinking. So if anyone who's listening or maybe knows someone that could benefit from MAD services, please feel free to either reach out to me. My email will be provided at the end, or call the 24-hour victim helpline, which is right there on the slide, and they will be able to point you in the right direction and then connect you with a local staff to help you get more tailored services. So it's really important, obviously, that we look at the scope of drunk driving. In 2019, there were over 10,000 lives lost, which accounted for about 30% of total traffic fatalities. Almost 1,000 of those fatalities were actually here in California. Drunk driving is a really wide scoping issue. About 2 in 3 people are actually going to be impacted by drunk driving in their lifetime. I think these two stats specifically are pretty jarring for people. Every 2 minutes, someone is injured in a drunk driving crash, and every 52 minutes, someone is killed. So we like to show, some photos of crashes that we've seen or we've gotten sent into us, and I think this just kind of helps, show how truly, jarring some of these crashes are. This one is pretty gnarly. And usually with a live audience, it's kind of a little bit of a guessing game. This car is clearly extremely mangled. And so we like to see if anyone can kind of guess what car this is for all the car buffs out there. But I'll go ahead just for time's sake to keep on going. It's a 2008 Infiniti FX35, if anyone is into cars. But I'm going to go ahead and kind of share some details from this crash. So early on the morning of March 30th, 2008, the driver of this vehicle dropped off a friend in Santa Monica, California. After leaving his friend, he turned onto Ocean Park Boulevard and accelerated to a speed of approximately 80 miles per hour when the posted speed limit for the roadway was 35. At 25th Street, the vehicle veered to the left onto the raised grass median, where it traveled a distance of about 137 feet before striking the first of 2 large pine trees. The impact with the first tree cut through the car from the front bumper to the left rear wheel. The impact was so forceful that it ejected the driver and his seat from the vehicle. The vehicle then struck the second tree and came to a rest at the south curb of Ocean Park Boulevard next to Clover Park. So what happened to the driver? Obviously, that's a pretty bad wreck. And even though he was wearing a seatbelt at the time of the collision, he was killed instantly on impact. And the crash took place about a half a mile away from a local DUI checkpoint. And if people aren't familiar with a checkpoint, if they haven't seen one, that is a law enforcement mechanism that is put in place by a local police department, a local sheriff's department, where they set up usually at like an on-ramp of a really busy freeway, or maybe downtown, specifically in San Diego. They usually have one on Mission Bay Boulevard, or on G Street downtown, or on Garnett up in like Pacific Beach. Those are really high traffic areas and places where people have typically been pulled over from drunk driving because they're leaving bars, trying to head home. And law enforcement will randomly screen a certain amount of cars and see if they can detect any alcohol. So the crash took place about a half a mile away from a local checkpoint. Unfortunately, toxicology tests showed that the driver's blood alcohol level was more than 3 times the legal limit of 0.08. Just some additional facts. At the time when he crashed, he was going 82 miles per hour. Like we said, the road speed limit was 35. So he was going almost 3 times the speed limit. There was no skid marks on the pavement, and the driver's seat landed about 30 feet from the vehicle with the D-ring still attached to the seatbelt. These are some more images from this specific crash. I mean, the car is pretty much just sliced in half, as you can see. These are some photos from the day. You can see all the wires hanging out. And a lot of times something that MAD will do will connect with a local police department or sheriff's department, and they will bring crash cars out like that they have either at a local tow yard, or they have one specifically with their department, and it serves as a really, really good visual, when we go to schools or, specifically doing Red Ribbon Week, when we were doing assembly presentations, and we would sometimes drop this car off in front of the school for the week, and it just kind of serves as a reminder of how intense these crashes are. And it's a really good visual, and I think it's a really good education piece. So what can you do to prevent a crash like this? I think, the simplest answers are usually the best ones. Don't drink and drive. There are so many options besides getting behind the wheel of a car after you've been drinking. We're almost in 2022. We are in the peak of technology right now. There are so many other options. You can hire a car service. Sometimes if you're out with a big group of people, and maybe you're out for like a bachelorette party or a birthday party, and you're going to be drinking, just plan, get a car service. Don't even worry about trying to get a taxi or anything. Another option, take a taxi, hail any ride or use any ride hailing service, so Uber, Lyft, anything like that. Everyone usually has an iPhone or a smartphone these days. You just download the app, hook up your credit card. You can actually order someone else an Uber on your account. So you don't even have to be in the car with them to get them a ride home. So this is another tool. If your friend has been drinking and they're trying to drive home, just get them an Uber on your app. You can also phone a friend or a family member. 100% of the time, a friend or a family member will be thankful that you called them at 3 a.m. Instead of you deciding to get behind the wheel of a car and killing yourself or potentially injuring yourself or someone else. Stay at a nearby hotel that's in walking distance. This kind of might be more applicable also if in advance you're going to be drinking, maybe in a place that you're not super familiar with, or stay at a friend's house if you've been drinking there too. So now I'm going to get a little bit into college alcohol consumption. So just a quick quiz, what percentage of 18 to 22-year-olds, that age range when you're typically in college at a four-year university, reported binge drinking in the last month? And as a reminder, or if people didn't know, binge drinking is defined as 4 drinks for women or 5 drinks for men at one time, usually in the span of about 2 hours. So go ahead and reveal the answer. It's only 29%, and that is less than half. So I think a lot of people will probably be shocked by that number, especially when you get to college. I think that the culture of college is just really, I should say the culture of drinking is very much embedded in colleges. And people think binge drinking is normal, going out, throwing back a ton of drinks, but it's actually not. Less than half of 18 to 22-year-olds are engaging in this type of behavior. And there's a reason, because it's dangerous. And when we talk about binge drinking, it's really important that we talk about signs of alcohol poisoning. Alcohol poisoning is very serious, and it's more likely to happen for people under about 25, or I should say adults, because of where you're at in your biological development. So it's also something that I think people think won't ever happen to you or someone that you know. But the truth is that it happens far more often than you'd think. And there are times when it can be treated if the person gets medical attention quickly. So being able to identify these signs is really important because you could save someone's life. So some signs: vomiting, shortness of breath, pale, cold, or clammy. If you're passed out or if someone else is passed out, that's a pretty good indication that someone could be suffering from alcohol poisoning. So if you do suspect that someone does have alcohol poisoning, first call 911. Try to keep them upright if you can, or lay them on the side with a pillow behind their back. And this is really, really important because if someone passes out when they're on their back and they throw up, it could actually be regurgitated back into their throat and they could aspirate, basically choking on their own vomit. And a lot of times that's extremely fatal. Also, find and tell a trusted adult. And the better plan, obviously, to protect yourself and your friends is to try to commit to staying away from situations like this, especially for underage. It's really important for people under the age of 21 to give your body a chance to mature to the point that it can actually help protect you. So just try to make a plan, talk to a trusted adult, family member, or friend about how to handle a situation like this if it could ever arise. A lot of times we get asked here at MAD, what is our position on legalization of marijuana or, drug DUIs. MAD, specifically in California, obviously where marijuana is legal, we actually don't take a position on the legalization of recreational marijuana, but we 100% call on the public to not get behind the wheel after taking an impairing drug, whether that be illegal or illegal. Specifically marijuana, it can impair a lot of your senses, making it hard, slowing down your reaction time, visual audio impairments, which would obviously make it extremely hard to drive a vehicle. So please don't ever get behind the wheel of a car after you've smoked or done any other drugs. It's also 100% illegal. You can get a DUI and it's 100% preventable, just like drunk driving. And we continue to serve victims that have been impacted by drug driving, and we are working with law enforcement to keep drug drivers off the road as well. So just a quick check-in, some of the more important takeaways that I've gone through thus far. Like I just said, impaired driving is 100% preventable. Don't do it. Plan ahead for a safe ride before you go out. If you're going to drink or use marijuana, use a ride-sharing app. Only time can sober you up. Don't listen to all of those tips and tricks like coffee or whatever that can sober you up. There is a biological component and breakdown of how many drinks per hour, usually with your BAC and weight. There's a whole scientific method with it. So you can't really outsmart how your body processes things. So yeah, please don't get behind the wheel after you've been drinking. Next bullet, step in and help take away the keys. Don't let your friend or anyone around you risk their lives or the lives of others. Like I said, you can get a ride hailing service for a friend without even being in their car, just ordering it from your phone and you can get them home. And then the last bullet, a DUI arrest can ruin / end your career before it even starts. Important for all the young folks out there watching this. The last time I checked, the average cost of a DUI in California is right around $16,000. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have $16,000 just laying around, and that is pretty much the median cost, and that's just kind of basic legal fees, and then the fines that you'll pay for it. So that's barring if you injured or killed anyone. So I think if that's not enough of an incentive, just don't do it. $16,000 is a lot of money. So next section, parents, just going to go over some tips and tricks on how to have conversations with your youth about underage alcohol use. So as a parent, you might be primarily concerned about alcohol in your teenager as it relates to drinking and driving, which is a completely valid concern. But it's important to keep in mind that 2/3 or around 68% of underage drinking related deaths are actually due to incidents other than traffic related causes. Alcohol actually contributes to death ranging from homicides, suicides, alcohol and other poisonings, drownings, even fires and falls. It is dangerous and illegal for teens to consume alcohol, even if they are not driving. So I think just as a parent, the most important thing that you can remember is just because they aren't driving, it doesn't mean that it takes away the risk. Specifically, when we look at underage drinking in California, There were 503 alcohol attributable deaths under the age of 21, and this sadly equates to around 30,247 years of potential life lost. And then looking at traffic fatalities for underage drinking, there were about 125 traffic fatalities, including 15 to 20-year-old drivers with a BAC greater than 0.01. Obviously, as a reminder, anything above 0 is illegal if you're under 21. Another thing, I think parents often rank drugs as more dangerous than alcohol. However, as many people are probably all too familiar with, alcohol is a drug, and a drug that is most commonly used by youth. It's used more than tobacco, it's used more than marijuana, any other illicit drug combined, and it kills more than 4,300 youth every year. And kids who start drinking young are 7 times more likely to be in an alcohol-related crash later on in life. And so it's really important that you start having these conversations and learn this information so we can help prevent that. And actually, teen drug use often starts with alcohol and is often abused in combination with alcohol. So, while the focus today obviously is on teen drinking, a lot of the tips and information that we're talking about can be used for discussions surrounding marijuana and other teen drug use. Another, I think, shocking numbers that people don't hear very often is that the latest research shows that kids actually start to consider the pros and cons of drinking alcohol as early as 8 years old. So that's really young, and I think a lot of people don't realize how risk perceptive kids are at that age. Parents, I think, also tend to worry about their peers giving their kids alcohol, or a group of friends applying social pressure to their kids to drink. But really, parents should worry less about their teens associating with maybe like a bad kid, and focus on helping correct adolescents' misperceptions that everyone's drinking. A lot of middle and high schoolers, like we saw with the college stat, 29% of people binge drinking, which a lot of people think is higher. Similar to middle and high schoolers, they tend to overestimate how many teens are currently drinking. They might say everyone's drinking when in reality, most teens aren't. They're frequently wrong about how much alcohol is being consumed by their friends and peers. But these misperceptions can actually be dangerous, as most are, because it can lead to the belief that it's normal to drink at that age. It can lead to them being pressured to fit in and be like others, which inevitably leads them to drink and increases more teen drinking. So the role of adults, and you as a parent, obviously one of the more important ones. There are a lot of misperceptions that adults might have. One being letting their kids drink at home can take away the mystery of alcohol. It can decrease maybe their teen's desire to drink later on when they're not at home, or that it's okay to provide alcohol to underage teens for special occasions and holidays. I can tell you that is extremely illegal, and please don't ever put yourself in a situation, even if you feel like that really is the safest way for your kids to try alcohol for the first time. If you're ever caught doing that, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. And I can imagine other kids' parents are not going to be thrilled to find out that that you are supplying their kid alcohol. So stay away from that situation altogether. And then you might have drank underage or used marijuana as a teen, and you turned out okay, so it's fine for your kids too. So these are just misperceptions that can fuel really unhealthy drinking habits with your youth. So keep these into consideration and try to address them. So it's important for adults and parents to know multiple studies about the role that they play, and especially when we're looking at maybe like teens being permitted to drink in the home in Europe, where kids are allowed to drink at a younger age. The studies are consistently showing that kids who are permitted to drink in their homes are drinking more often and in larger amounts when they're outside of the home without their parents. And this ultimately leads them to experience more problems down the road. So really important to just realize that you can't teach your child or teen how to drink responsibly. It's something that they'll learn when they're of age, and being able to fully comprehend cause and effect, and when their body has fully developed. So just wrapping up here, Just really realizing that as a parent, you do have the power to make a difference with your child. And, feel free to always reach out to us at MAD. We have a ton of parent resources that I can pass off to Lori and make available. They're online resources. And we're always really happy to help anyone out. So I'll go ahead and wrap up here. And our funding for this program is actually provided by a grant from the California Office of Traffic Safety through the National Highway Traffic Administration. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce my friend Shelly here. Shelly can you guys see the new screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I met Shelly back in February, and it's been such a fun journey getting to know Shelly and her family and hear her story. So I'm really excited to let you guys hear more about Shelly. A little bit of information about her. Shelly enjoys spending time with her friends and family, exercising and gardening. She's been speaking for MAD for a couple years, as well as the San Diego Police Department at the Teen Alcohol Awareness Program. And one of her biggest goals is to continue reaching out to the community to bring awareness for preventing injury and death due to driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to you, Shelly.
Great, thank you, Kaylee, appreciate it. And thank you, San Diego City College for having me speak. I appreciate it. Again, hi, my name is Shelly Clark. I'm talking about choices and how it affected my life forever. My goal is for you to listen and learn about my mistake to keep you safe. I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor. And just get started with my injury. I was in a car crash in 1985. I was 18 years old. I graduated from Portland High School, and I graduated in 1984. I was a three-sport varsity athlete. I played volleyball, basketball, and softball. In basketball, I was a bench warmer, basically. Volleyball, I was an excellent player, and softball was my sport. I pitched and played third base. I ended up getting MVP of the Western League, all CIF, and that was an exciting time in my life. I ended up getting a full scholarship for softball to NAU in Flagstaff, Arizona. Again, I was 18, and I thought I was invincible. Nothing's gonna happen to me. I'm a great athlete. I was acting like I had a free ride, not a full ride. I ended up getting a fake ID at NAU, and I was home for the summer break of 1985. I got together with a friend of a friend that I briefly knew, and the more we talked, the more we figured out that we knew some of the same people back at NAU. So we thought, hey, wouldn't it be great to go back and surprise them? And so we called our parents and lied to them what we were doing, where we were going. And I ended up buying some beer with my fake ID. And we took off for Arizona, NAU bound. About an hour and a half into the drive, I noticed the driver was swerving. I'm like, hey, you feeling all right? She's like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I said, okay, great. So I reclined my seat back to relax for the rest of the trip. And shortly after that, the driver fell asleep at the wheel. The car went off an embankment in Ocotillo Wells turnoff, Highway 8. You probably know, most of you know where that is. And the car flew 100 feet, flipped once, end over end, and flipped 3 times in the air. On impact, I don't know. I'll probably never know. Probably the first flip, I was ejected out the back window of the car. It was a Camaro. Doesn't really matter what kind of car it was, but it just happened to be a 85 Camaro. The car continued to fly as I was going through the air. The car continued to fly, and it flew 60 feet longer, or 60 feet farther, actually. The car slid and stopped 5 feet away, directly in the path of my head. And I was not wearing any seatbelts because it wasn't a law back in '85. So the first thing I do now is that seatbelt is on, because with my experience, I know how important it is to have that seatbelt on. It's gonna keep me where I'm at, if that makes sense. So the driver was pinned in with the steering wheel. So she managed to get out, and I don't know, where we landed there was houses and gas station right there. And so people heard, and so they called the CHP, and so the CHP was first on scene. And all that thing that I just shared with you, that's all extremely from a police record, because I don't remember any of that. Ambulance was called. They took me to El Centro Hospital. They did not have enough life support systems to keep me alive. So they called Life Flight helicopter, and Life Flight took me to UCSD Medical Center. They took me in emergency surgery, and I broke my nose, my jaw in 7 places. My teeth were just floating in my mouth. My left collarbone, my right wrist, 7 ribs, lacerated my liver and spleen, collapsed lung, and I sustained massive brain damage. UCSD called my parents while I was in surgery, and because of the lie, my parents weren't sure what was going on. They were in disbelief that I was at a friend's house. And so I'm telling you all, lying is no good. It comes back to you in a negative way every time. The doctor read my license to them, and they're like, that's her license. So they still in disbelief coming to the hospital. And when they got to the hospital, the doctors prepared them on how bad that I looked. And I was in critical condition. And when they saw me, they did not even recognize me, except for my feet. They recognized my feet, and that's a whole nother story. So there you go. But I was in a coma for 30 days on full life support for 10 days. I woke up and I gave the peace sign. And so the doctors called my parents, and my mom started screaming. My dad thought I had died. And my mom said, no, she just gave the peace sign. So a very surreal moment for my parents, I'm sure. The doctors told my parents that I'd be mentally a 3rd grade level mentality that I'll come back to. My parents should start looking for a nursing home. Well, today I'm happy to tell you that I am smarter than a 5th grader. So life is good, right? Attitude is everything. I spent 1 year in 3 different hospitals. I've had 13 major surgeries, and due to a rare bone disease that I'll get to in a bit, I got down to 92 pounds in the hospital. I was very, very sick, very weak, and not well. Because of my jaw being broken so many places, the doctors wired my mouth shut. And as Kaylee had shared with you earlier, I would have aspirated and choked to death. So they had to put an air passageway through my throat. They gave me tracheotomy to, feed me and breathe and all that. So that's why my voice is so soft. And I'm sorry about that. Hopefully you can understand me all right. I had a communication board in the hospital, and because I couldn't speak because my mouth was wired shut. And I guess my parents told me the first thing that that I wrote out was, I am not responsible for the crash. So I had a few brain cells left, that was a good thing. That's just how I deal with my injury. And I'm sorry for being kind of strange like that. I was right-handed, but I had to change to a lefty because I got injured on my left side. That's like my slide in my softball career came in handy. I did a slide in home, but I was out. So I am now a lefty, and my left side was injured, so my right side is affected. So this is my good side because I'm now partially paralyzed. So this is my good side, my left side. And then this is because I broke my wrist. This is as fast as I can do it. Very, very humbling indeed. But it is what it is. What are you going to do? I have short-term memory loss due to my crash, due to my brain injury. I'm not able to scream and I'm not able to run. So I'm not getting in any dark alleys anytime soon by myself. Probably a safe idea. I'm always with someone at night because of my limitations. I have from my neurological damage, I have what do I have? I have, foot drop, and I was falling a lot. And so my parents did some research, and I ended up getting a walk aid. I have foot drop and hyperextension in my knees, so double whammy. But the walk aid shocks my nerve and it kicks my foot up. And it's also excellent for stroke victims as well, from what I've heard. And it's just a wonderful blessing, miracle, because I'm still using a cane or stick, but it helps me tremendously walk so much better. I have a pencil leg and a marker leg, and a small leg and a larger leg, and it's humbling, but I'm thankful to be able to walk. I've had something stuck me in my neck right here, probably either when I went out of the car or when I landed. A stick, metal, I'm not sure. And I lost a lot of blood, massive blood loss. And they gave me they gave me a transfusion, I'm not sure, but they gave me a transfusion. And unfortunately, I got hepatitis C. And it wasn't even a name when I got this blood infection, but it was called something else. And they were not checking blood like they are now. So my family again did the research, and I got into an intense study, and I've responded. So oh my gosh, I no longer have the active virus. So I'm very thankful for that. It took about 5 years off my life. So I'll be 95 instead of 100, the way that I look at it. My high school coach in softball, we're still close, and she taught me PMA. I'm sure you guys know what that is, positive mental attitude. And I use that daily today. Attitude is everything. Life is not what I expected it to be, but I'm living the best I can with the limitations that I have. And lack of common sense due to my brain injury led me to have many challenges to get through. And, so therefore I'm living with my parents again. I'm 54. Hello, live with my parents again. Truthfully, I'm very honored and very thankful for my parents. And I Can't even read my own writing. Hate it when that happens. I was married for 10 years and I have a 28-year-old son who I'm very proud of. He has 2 jobs locally in town, and I have a 4-year-old granddaughter who is perfect. Her name's Mila, and I just love her to tears. Unfortunately, she's out of town, living out of town. So I talk to her once a week, so it's great. I've been dating the same guy for 12 years, and he's very, very good guy. We get along great, and he is an LDA, which is a legal document associate, and for 40 years he's here in town, and we're doing great. My faith and a supportive family have made a healthy difference in my life. Staying fit is very important to me. I work out 3 to 4 times a week, and I continue to be a competitor. I just compete with myself now. And I'm bummed that I'm not able to play ball any longer, but I watch baseball, a little softball, and I watch some basketball. Don't watch much football, but I watch mostly baseball. So, I'm just very thankful that you're here to hear my injury prevention, because it's so important for me to reach out to you so that you don't get injured or, make poor choices and change your life forever as it happened to me. So I'm honored to speak for the TAP program, as Kaylee mentioned earlier, Teen Alcohol Awareness Program, and also with MAD, volunteer for that also. And I'm just so thankful to make a difference in life to the youth, and how important it is to make safe choices, because, it's all about one choice at a time. Think about your choices before you react. And, it's important to make the healthy and safe choices. Use your mind to protect your body. All this happened to me because of my poor choice. In summary, injuries affect not only us, but our friends and family also. Thank you for listening. Think about your choices and their consequences. Let me say that again. Think about your choices and their consequences. And I think about mine daily. My final quote to you guys today is: life is what you make it. Be safe and make good choices. Be the best you can be, and it's up to you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you listening, and you guys have an amazing evening and happy Thanksgiving.
My goodness, Shelley, thank you so much for sharing that very personal story. And some of the takeaways just from, first of all, I'm so amazed at your abilities, given what you suffered. And so I'm grateful that you are with us, right? I'm sure your family is so incredibly grateful for your life, but we're incredibly grateful for your life, because you're so unselfishly sharing, what happened to you to help others to avoid the same kind of thing. What would you say to this? May I ask you a question? So, I work with our Associated Students Government and a lot of different student clubs and organizations on campus. And I experienced something one time, whereas, and it was something that it was happening so quickly, but the outcome, ended up being, well, pretty much okay. And then a solution came about as a result. So we had one of our students that had been, I think she was on her 3rd DUI, and she was in one of our clubs and organizations, and her fellow members were really concerned about her in particular. So they wanted to spend more time with her to try to get her from stopping to drink, or to, nowadays it's also opiates and things of that nature that can also impair driving. But they were so concerned about her and they loved her so much. I remember them saying that, like, what can we come up with? Like, what can be our code word? What can we do to absolutely stop this person who drinks for reasons for depression and other things accordingly. What they came up with, because they were afraid just to be a snitch on her. So they didn't, they didn't want to excuse her behavior, but they also wanted her to be accountable and responsible for her actions. But they were afraid about how to go about doing it. They didn't stage an intervention, but what they did do is they made a pact that consisted of honesty. We're going to tell you the truth. And they lived by that pact, and they were able to really assist this person through one of the toughest parts of her life, because she ended up having to wear a monitor on her. Law enforcement had her to wear a monitor on her leg, and that was something that she had to bring to college every day. And at first, she was very ashamed of it. But what happened? Here's the resolution piece: is that she knew she was in a very bad way, because she was dealing with legal issues and lots of money, as Kaylee mentioned earlier, $16,000, for a crash. And what they ended up doing is talking her into, hey, use this and tell other people about what you're experiencing right now. And maybe you could be the voice of reason that they'll listen to, because they can see that you've gone through some kind of thing to have to wear this device to school every day. And it's very visible. And she was very ashamed of it. But then she turned it into kind of like a power, a superpower, as to tell peers at City College, like, don't drink and drive. Listen, that's been my downfall, her reasons. And soon enough, Shelley, they just began to have each other's back and to try to reach as many other students as possible. There were some very frightening times where they were afraid that, like we might have to call the police on her, because they thought she was going to hurt herself, because there was no listening to reason. Gratefully, they didn't have to do that. It just took a lot of concerned people to rally around same goals, and talk about, like, if you go to jail and because right now, as it is, when you drink and drive, or if you have a DUI and you're convicted of those things, when you're in college, you can lose your financial aid. You can lose access to so many different things. I want to give you the opportunity to respond to that, Shelley, because I just wanted to tell you a particular story that I knew of.
Mom, come here for a sec. Well, did you hear? Mm-hmm. College. I was in college and I was making some few poor choices and doing that, and I was ineligible, and I was living, as I said earlier, I was living like I was on a free ride, not a full ride, and I lost everything about my scholarship, college, everything. Do you have anything more to say about that? Because you had more of an understanding of, because I was in coma, so I don't know too much about that. This is my beautiful mother.
Hi, Mom.
No, I think Shelley's always been, had a lot of strength, and her ability to fight and put everything, etc. And we really didn't let her feel sorry for herself. And we thought it was important that she get involved with speaking, because she really, truly wanted to help people. But there for a while, she was speaking a lot, and then she started getting a little depression, because it was like it was
reliving
all the time. But then she thought, hey, I'm bigger than that, and I've got to get over it. This happened to me, and I've got to prove to people that you have to stand up and say and fight against it and never happen again. And Shelly still, she doesn't, if we, if we're at home and we had a glass of wine or something like that, she'll just, she may have a half a glass and that's it, but she's never been in a car since then. And her brother feels the same way. So he empowers that with his kids. So they always think of Shelly, and it just is a big impact.
I'm usually the designated driver.
Yeah, but she doesn't.
Regardless, I just know I'll drive. But Lauren was basically asking about the college experience. You have so much ahead of you, but then do they take the college experience away from me? Or how did that happen?
Well, she had a full scholarship and lost everything. So that was a lot, for her to lose that. And she still, it's hard for her to work or to go. It's a hard time focusing. Like, she has to read her story, even though she knows it. It's the short-term memory, and stuff. But she does good, and we've always been, as a family, very proud of her, and just keep pushing on.
Keep me on the straight and narrow.
And she has a good sense of humor, so that helps. She absolutely does. I enjoyed the way that you involved some humor in reliving that tragic time.
Right. Nice that you shared that story, because people, friends and family, if you rally around people, not to give up on them and just push and try and support them and tell them that they're loved, and do everything you can to help
I have one more story. Can I share?
Absolutely.
I had this rare bone disease in my back, because I was a windmill pitcher. That was the weakest part of my back, was my lower back, and so something got in my lower back, in the antibiotics I was on to keep me alive. So what happened is disintegrated my vertebrae, and I was in intense pain, and that's probably why I got down so low. Got down to 92 pounds, because I couldn't even hold water, keep water down. And so I got the rare bone disease, and the doctor had told my parents I was out of it, but they told my parents that I was the 22nd person in the world to have gotten this rare bone disease. I heard that, my eyes lit up. I was so excited, because 22 is my all-time number in sport. And I thought that was the coolest thing. You try to make negative and turn around for positive. And like the story you just shared with me, you turn around for good. Turn the frown upside down, right?
Absolutely. I really appreciate your sense of humor, and I appreciate you being able to have that after experiencing a lot of loss in your life, in terms of losing out of college and things of that nature. Growing up and not, your hopes and dreams had to shift. It didn't keep you from having hopes and dreams, but you just had to develop new ones, and that's what you ended up doing. So your perseverance through this, I totally commend. It's such a treasured honor for me to meet you today, Shelly, and Mom. Appreciate you coming today to speak to our City College students and give them something real to consider in terms of making good choices.
Yeah, like Shelly said, this could have been prevented. It's all because of choices.
Right.
And that's true.
Right.
Thank you for letting me share too.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And my brother was 13 when I got injured. So that was very influential years for him. So he's doing, he's a grown man now and married and has kids and everything, but it affects everyone. So people have to be aware on how the trickle effect is.
Yes.
Because as I shared earlier, it affects a lot of people or everyone, your friends and family. And I'm thankful that I still have two close friends. I've been friends with one girl since second grade and the other girl since high school. We're great friends, but everyone else basically scattered because I wasn't an athlete anymore. I'm a different person now.
Yes.
Competitive, very straightforward, and I have a much kinder heart now, I guess. And I'm just, I got to look at the positive things in my life and not look at the negative things because I could go into depression, so I just try to keep it all uphill. And my parents are very supportive, and my boyfriend and my friends and my granddaughter keeps me smiling. So it's all good.
Shelley, I'm taking away because I wrote down a couple of the things that you said, to pass on and to share with others. And the one was the PMA for the positive mental attitude, because it seems like that has been something that you've been able to adopt into your life. And the other thing that I thought was pretty poignant is when you said, use your mind to protect your body. So thank you for those pearls of wisdom. And thanks again for joining us at San Diego City College this afternoon. We really, truly appreciate you and wish you all the best in the future and upcoming holiday season. Wishing you all the best. Take care. And then Kaylee, if I could have some parting words from you. I mean, thank you so much I made some notes about your presentation too, because
Good.
I thought, so my son is out at San Diego State. He's 19, going to be 20 next month. But all of these statistics that you talked about and some of the things that he shares with me is just being aware of these things. Like I was surprised that it was encouraging to know that there's only 29% of college students that binge drink. Because you hear all kinds of horror stories and hazing stories and things of that nature. What do you suppose is the reason for the decrease? Because I think at another point in time when there was a lot of hazing before it got prohibited, it was different. What do you suppose that the difference is nowadays?
I don't know. I mean, I will say that the stat that we have is national data. So every single school is going to have a different relationship with alcohol, like private schools, all girls schools, traditional like party schools. Like I would say like SDSU is a really big party school where probably drinking behavior might be more than 29%, but we have to average it across. So I think it's kind of hard to say, I guess, that there's been a decrease because it is going to be different at every school, but I think kids are just smarter now than they used to be. It's just kind of like with how technology is changing. Like I think more kids are realizing that it's like not super cool to be drinking when you're not 21, and it's not super cool to get behind the wheel of a car like after you've been drinking. Like the kids that I talk to out here at like high schools and stuff, most of them don't know anyone that's ever gotten behind the wheel of a car after they've drank, or at least like admitted to it. But that's just something that they don't do. And so, they're either having these conversations with their parents already, or, we're going into the communities and telling them early enough and they know not to do it. So I think, that's a positive, it's a positive reinforcement that, like the work that we're doing in the communities is really paying off.
One of the things too that I'll just share with you is that, my son shares with me like that. I think youth today, college students are so much more mindful about what they want to put in their bodies in terms of nutrition, because like my son is a health nut. I mean, he's like to keep his body conditioned. So he works out daily and he's plays basketball but also eating, not fried foods, not fast food. It's so interesting that I think maybe it's a California thing. I'm not quite sure.
Honestly, maybe everyone's in great shape out here.
I think there's a mindfulness about eating healthy and exercising and being healthy and mental health. counseling accessibility to college students at their respective colleges. I think that we do a better job at caring for our students, while they're in college. We treat the entire whole. We're not just looking at them as a student academically, but co-curricular activities and, wanting them to be well in every single step of the way. So we have a phenomenal mental health counseling center as well as a student services center. So at City, I think colleges are really treating the whole student nowadays instead of just, concerned about academics. But I also wanted to give you the opportunity, if you wouldn't mind, Kaylee, to talk about the program that MAD has about Walk Like MAD, and that's coming up in October of 22 at San Diego City College, being the sponsor.
Yeah, so really excited. We will be having our yearly giant fundraiser, Walk Like Mad, officially confirmed at San Diego City College next year, October 2022. Details are still being finalized, and I'm more than happy to provide our special events manager, Kim, her information for anyone that is interested in creating a team, doing donations, becoming a sponsor, all of that stuff. We'll have a whole package put together, so it'll be easily digestible. But yeah, we're really excited. This is the first in-person walk that we'll have had since, I think, 2019 because of COVID. So we moved it to online, which was an interesting experience. It was, like everything else, online. But yeah, so it'll be really great just to be out in the community and have everyone there in person. And we're really excited.
And we are as well, because it'll be our first time sponsoring the Walk Like Mad event.
Yeah.
And it's going to be designed all around. So San Diego City College takes over 8 city blocks. We are huge and we're fragmented all around our area. So there's so many different things to see at San Diego City College. So we are planning a route for the participants in October of 2022 to all around San Diego City College, and what's special about it, and about our murals, about our beautiful landscaping,
Yes.
farm, Seeds at City, some of our wonderful programs, like our cosmetology and nursing programs and photography. We just have a lot of things planned for that. So it's going to be fun, and look forward to it. So you all stay tuned for our Walk Like Mad at City in October of 22. So I want to thank you both, Kaylee and Shelley. Thank you so much for being my guest today for our Student Leadership Summit and talking about this very important topic, as well as sharing your very personal story, Shelley. I'm sure everybody is moved by and it impacted in a very positive way. Thank you both for coming, and I wish you all the best this holiday season. And we'll see you sometime soon, especially in October for sure.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, and stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye now. And I wanted to just thank everybody that tuned in today, YouTube Live, or who will be watching this at another time, because it will be accessible through our San Diego City College's YouTube channel after tomorrow. So 24 hours. Thank you for letting us wrap up our Student Leadership Summit with this very important event. And we look forward to seeing you next year for hopefully in-person Student Leadership Summit activities. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Lori Oldham from the Office of Student Affairs at San Diego City College. Take care.